hri.ie, or follow the new Twitter account at HRI Racing and use the hashtag #EveryRacingMoment. Well, what a week it has been for Irish racing at Cheltenham. For Rachel Blackmore, who is the leading jockey, 6 winners for Rachel Blackmore at Cheltenham this week. For Henry de Bromhead, who won the Champion Hurdle, the Champion Chase, and today won the Cheltenham Gold Cup with Manila Indo at odds of 9-1. But not enough to give him the leading trainer crown, because Willie Mullins snuck in right at the death and with Galopin des Champs won the final race to win it on a countback. So Willie Mullins is the champion trainer at Cheltenham for the 8th time in 11 years. 23 Irish winners compared to 5 for the English. So to analyse it all, I'm joined by 2 men who have had a ridiculously good week. Danny Mullins, who rode Flooring Porter to win the Paddy Power Stayers Hurdle yesterday, and Paul Hennessy, who was only on Friday Night Racing with us last week and trained 33 to 1 shot, heaven help us, to win the Coral Cup. Paul, great to talk to you.
Thank you very much, Nathan. I'm glad to be here, especially under these circumstances.
Congratulations. You've had a good week, to put it mildly.
Absolutely. One that we'll never forget. One that we'll never forget. That's the truth.
And Danny Mullins is with us as well. Danny, congratulations to you. I think you're in a car on the way to Heathrow at the moment.
Yeah, we're just heading down to the airport now, but it's been a great week. Glad to get on the score sheet, and the Irish had a fantastic festival.
And Johnny Ward is with us as well. Johnny, I'm sure you've achieved lots this week as well.
Yeah, I'd say after reporting on Cheltenham for 4 days, even though I haven't been over there, you are goosed afterwards. I wouldn't like to have been riding in every race. I don't have the stamina to write articles in this anymore, and it's an overwhelming week, you know, especially when you're over there. You might go for a few beers on the Thursday night, and you're normally tired and emotional on the Friday, and you get through it because you're getting the boat home or whatever. But obviously it was a very quiet week, working from home, but incredible. You teed it up nicely there, 23-5 to the Irish, and I know it's not I'm not talking about the result of the rugby tomorrow, and it's a lot more to it, and you know, with trainers, with jockeys, and so forth. But Irish racing can reflect on an unbelievably good week, and meanwhile, I think over in Britain they will have some soul searching to do, because this was an absolute humiliation for British racing.
We will get into all those brilliant Irish storylines in a couple of minutes, but I do want to talk to Danny and to Paul first off. And Danny, Flooring Porter, let's hear it and let's watch it, the closing stages of the Stayers Hurdle.
To pick it up on the wide outside for Aidan Coleman. They're racing inside the final quarter mile. Still one flight to take. Flooring Porter being held together by Danny Mullins. Beacon Edge now to within 2 lengths of the hands of Sean Flanagan. Then Paisley Park. On the far side is Cider Ballet, Vindication and the Storyteller next. The final flight for Flooring Porter, led by 3 lengths to Beacon Edge in second. Then Cider Ballet. Flooring Porter wandering, but still leads by 3 lengths to Cider Ballet in second, but they won't catch Flooring Porter. He makes every single yard for Danny Mullins, and Flooring Porter has won the Stayers Hurdle. Cider Ballet in second.
You finally got that Cheltenham win, Danny. What were the emotions like yesterday?
It was unbelievable. You know, any big winner is fantastic, but to finally have a Cheltenham winner on my CV is something very special. I never doubted that it would come, but I really savoured the moment.
You'd had so many close calls as well through the years. I gather a horse trained by your mother at one stage beat you into second place. So all those near misses, I'm sure, just make it all the more enjoyable.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd say some of those ones that I got beat on, I probably gave better rides to. Like yesterday, I was riding a very good horse and the job was made simple for me. But, you know, it's all about winning in this game.
It wasn't a horse you were expecting to ride coming into the week. You might tell the listeners, for maybe who weren't following, exactly what happened.
Yeah, so Johnny Moore had an awful fall in Naas on Sunday. He was actually attended to on the ground by the ambulance man for probably 10 or 15 minutes before his x-rays were clear afterwards, and he was hoping he'd be available to ride. And Thursday morning, I just returned from the gallops, and I met him coming back in, and he called me over and said he just wouldn't be able to ride. He said his back was still in bad shape. He couldn't do the horse justice. He said he put my name forward to Gavin Cromwell, who later spoke to me to say that I would be riding him once all was okay with the owners. And it went from there. Just a chance ride, but, you know, I probably had 40 rides for Willie Mullins at the festival and hadn't got a winner, and to get my first winner on a chance ride, a spare for Gavin Cromwell, was fantastic.
Yeah, Johnny, that's the racing game in a nutshell right there.
Yeah, I guess, you need a bit of luck, and Mark Walsh got it today right, and maybe Florian Porter's heir apparent in the Albert Bartlett for Gavin Cromwell as well. But, I think this was one of the stories of the week, Nathan. There was obviously Rachel Blackmore and Willie Mullins and, some of the unbelievable performances, but I just think Johnny Moore, the team player that he was, and, photographed with the horse afterwards, he must have been tempted to go through it and say, I'll be okay, I'll put the horse out in front, I'll steer him, and it'll be grand. But he took a call for the team, and I hope, he's rewarded going forward with a very exciting horse. And it was fascinating watching Lear and Rossi last night, Danny. It really reminded me how much you looked like your dad when he was younger. And obviously it was all about Dawn Run on the show last night, and your dad getting jocked off Dawn Run at that time. But you were, on the same day as the programme aired, you were jocked on a horse because of an injury and won a championship race at Cheltenham. I thought it was fantastic stuff from Jonathan and yourself. Yeah,
definitely. And, it was a great mark of the man to see Jonathan being the first one there to congratulate me after the race. That speaks volumes about how nice a guy he is. And, he'll get back on him. I can't see a reason why he won't win in Punchestown, and, plenty more of those good races. So he'll get his due reward. He's a great rider too. So I was delighted to be able to just step in and take a little bit of the sunshine for myself. But, it's probably 2% of the job yesterday was down to me. 98% of it would have been down to Gavin Cromwell, Johnny Moore, and all the team that go with them.
How did you celebrate last night, Danny?
I had hot chocolate and vanilla ice cream. It was very nice. I'd love to do it all over again.
No doubt, no doubt. We're also joined by a man you know very well, Paul Hennessy, who had that brilliant victory, 33-1 shot. Heaven help us. Let's see how it all happened.
And it's Heaven help us, storming up the Cheltenham Hill. She's drawing further and further clear. Heaven help us, runs riot to win the Coral Cup. Craig Nish ran off a second ahead of T Clipper. Very close for fourth between Janica, the Grey Sayer running on. Then Guard Your Dreams, Palmer's Hill, Don Levant and Birchdale.
Paul, congratulations. What are you like when Heaven help us is heading up the hill?
It was amazing, and it's gas that you have Danny there as well, because Danny won on her forest. We went over for her first maiden hurl October 12 months ago. So that's how well she knew the track. Danny had already won on her, as I say, over there for us. And we were cheering like mad things here at home when Danny was coming around yesterday to get his winner in Cheltenham, because we've seen all the near misses that he's had. And as I say, it was wonderful just for him to win his race. He deserved that.
You bred the horse yourself?
Oh, our horse, yeah, we bred our own one here. Funny enough, both of them were Florian Porter's a son of Yates, and Heaven help us is a daughter of Yates. So, good result. Danny must be good with these Yates horses.
He sure is. He sure is. Danny, I think you're on the route to the airport, so you're coming in and out there. So we might let you go. But thanks a million for joining us, and hopefully you get time for a bit more ice cream over the next few days.
Thanks a million, lads, and well done to Paul as well. It's a great achievement.
Thanks.
Had you a few quid on at 33-1, Paul?
No, I don't bet, but there's plenty of other people that made up for me.
I'd imagine there was.
Oh, there was, yeah. The family here all had a few quid on her each way, and the owner had a few quid on each way, and loads of people along the way. I'll tell you a very funny story. There's a lot of, paperwork involved with forms and details of entries and confirming entries and declarations and making sure you got it right. And there was a lady called Noelle in the BHA offices in London, and she was super. And I kept ringing her. She said, "There's no problem. Ring me whenever you want to know." And I wanted to get, say, the next 6-day deck done and make sure you're supposed to be doing it online, but I'm not that good with laptops. And this lady took on the whole lot for me. You'd have to ring the following day to confirm the entry, the following day to declare. So with all that was going on, she actually rang me back the following day when we got home after the mayor won to congratulate us. And she said she had a few quid each way on it herself because of all of what was involved. So that was a lovely story.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. So, I mean, and even when we were going out as well, there was a guy that worked in the customs, and I was just chatting to him while I was waiting for other forms to be stamped and stuff in Holyhead. and he was telling me his daughter was into ponies and horses and this carry on. And he was, when I was coming back in, would you believe he was on duty again, and he came over to me and he said he backed Heaven Help Us each way, and the daughter was holding on to the few pound because she was going to buy a saddle for her pony from it.
It's absolutely remarkable, Nathan, as well. If you look at, we had obviously Paul on the Friday night racing last week, and he was talking about breeding Heaven Help Us. But Paul, has it dawned on you? Your success obviously in greyhound racing is one thing, and you did describe the logic behind the mare. But this mare basically went to stud having shown next to nothing whatsoever as a horse that ran 6 times, and you sent her to Yates, and you liked her pedigree. And out of this, not only did you have a winner at the Dublin Racing Festival, which itself is outstanding, but you had a very, very easy winner of a Cheltenham race, and you've done all of this with literally a handful of horses after only throwing your hand at horse racing, probably because you wanted a bit of crack instead of the greyhounds.
Yeah, you're probably true, Johnny. And it was a different angle to go down, and it was exciting to be starting off with something that you knew nothing about. What I was saying, you had an interest in it, say, but the physical element of training horses, I knew absolutely nothing about it, and that was a nice challenge after years and years doing the dogs. Now, there are similarities, I suppose, and we've had some of them that ran and schooled well and ran turbulent races. This is horses now. But she just pops up and she gives it to you most of the time, or nearly all the time. You know what I mean? So there's no doubt. Look at it, she's just a one-off. And some of the paths that we've been led down, a lot of them, just fell in front of us. And so I won't claim any great wisdom of picking the races for her. We hadn't much choice with, say, going to Cheltenham. We had to enter into handicaps, and hopefully we got into one. Now I was hoping we would have got into the Coral Cup because it's 2 mile and 5. And I have an opinion that she'll stay 3 miles easy. And looking at her coming up the hill, I'd say the farther she'll go, possibly the better she'll be.
It is interesting as well, because we have, the debate maybe about the mares races and so on, and we now have mares novice chase, mares hurdle, and a mares novice hurdle in Cheltenham. But in fairness to the racing program in Ireland, you can get a mare quite cheaply, and I think it's something that hasn't really been commented on, which to me is quite staggering. You had 6 horses trained in Ireland of the fairer sex this week winning. Now, obviously, they weren't all running in mares races. You obviously had Put the Kettle on as well, Honeysuckle taking on the geldings and so forth.
The red ones, yeah. No, you're right, Johnny. You're dead right, Johnny. There's no doubt. It's a huge opportunity. Yeah. And the mares, they were amazing, some of the mares that won this week in Cheltenham, and even over the years, you know what I mean? And Epatante the year before winning the champion hurdle. So the last twice, the winners of the champion hurdle have been mares. And no, there's no doubt. You're dead right. A lot of people want to pick the geldings, and the beauty, of a mare then too, say, all being well, when she retires, we'll have her and we can go breeding her. And so that's an exciting in itself. I know it's slow and it takes a time, but you have to start somewhere. And her mother, as I say, she was only fair, and she was the only one I had, so I was always going to breed her when she had a good pedigree and took a chance. But it just goes to show, look at what happened. She bred this mare, and it's wonderful. But the mares are as good as anybody. You get a good mare, look at any power, any of those great mares. There's plenty of mares winning ordinary races too.
Paul, Danny was saying he celebrated with the hot chocolate and a bit of ice cream. How did you celebrate?
Well, look at it. I'm not going to kind of raise it any higher, because I'm a pioneer. I gave up cigarettes and drink in 2000. You can't have one with to kick the two of them to touch. That's what I did that time. But I drove home the lorry from Cheltenham, got the ferry at 2:30 in the morning from Holyhead, landed in Dublin at 6:30. I didn't even need the boat to get home. I would have rowed the boat home myself, the way I felt leaving Cheltenham. It was just incredible, because, as I say, we grew up, our first love here would have been horses, even before I ever had anything to do with a greyhound. And, Cheltenham is, even when the place is empty, just walk down the straight in Cheltenham, say in the mornings when you're going down to the schooling grounds behind your horse, is just an unbelievable feeling. I don't know of any place, maybe Croke Park, you know what I mean? When you walk into Croke Park, there doesn't need to be a crowd. If you're there as a visitor even, it has this, real feeling. You can feel the history and you know what goes on in it, and Cheltenham is the very same. Well, to me it is anyway,
Yeah, it was surreal at times watching, where you're waiting for the roar, whether it was on the opening day or when Rachel Blackmore is having these incredible successes.
Yes.
You're just imagining what it would be like. The history is there, so you feel the emotion of having a win at Cheltenham, no doubt. But
you do. And
were you looking around, missing having family and everybody from the yard been able to be there the way it might have been?
Look, it had to be the way it was this year, and I must say, now I will say this, with the Cheltenham, there are people over there, the HRI people went over, Jennifer Walsh and Barbara, they were incredible. Every step of the way they led us, and Dr. Jennifer Pugh as well. And, they just kept saying to people, we want you to do it this way. And the Irish people that were there were fantastic. We were all in the best mate stands. The pavilion was there behind them where we stayed in the cabins. And there was no need to move, and they were brilliant. Every horse that came up, and I heard even the commentators on the English channels today saying the great thing about the Irish village, they called it, there was only about 50 or 60 people there, but they cheered every winner. Irish, granted, the vast majority were Irish winners, but the English winners that came down the other one, they gave them a yee-haw as well, from the top of the stand. And, it was great, even though the crowds weren't there. That meant an awful lot, you know what I mean? And, the lads shouting at me when I was trying to run up the hill to catch the mare, you know what I mean? But different things like that. It was great. They made the most of what we could. And look, it was a fantastic meeting, for Ireland anyway.
You mentioned it there, Johnny. Paul's obviously a successful greyhound trainer. Should he be having the head turned a little bit more now, maybe taking on a few more horses?
Yeah, I think Paul is the man to ask. I mean, I did kind of want to ask you this, when you were on last week as well, Paul. How do you feel the greyhound industry is going? Because I think even in racing, we had kind of a little bit of concerns about racing. The PR we've had the last 4 days have been literally the best we could have hoped for. It's been phenomenal. But what's it like now in the greyhound game? And do you consider doing more of the horsey stuff?
Look, I've been brought up with the greyhound game in the sense that, I suppose I took a real interest as a teenager into it. And it's in a good place at the moment. We have a good system going. And definitely, there's both sides to every story. When we got the publicity that came out, 2 or 3 years ago, there's no doubt that it made people more aware in the industry. And I suppose everyone did help to improve the lot for the competitors, for our dogs and that. And the Irish Greyhound Board have been fabulous in rehoming and finding pets or homes for them as pets and that after racing. And that has been huge. And we've all worked hard to maintain standards and keep standards and raise standards. So, that's no harm. That's no harm. We have, the animals do give us a huge amount of pleasure for competing and everything else. And there's no harm to return the compliment to them, to look after them and all the rest of it. So I suppose, greyhound racing is in a good place at the moment. They worked hard at it, and I suppose there's no harm. But right now it is a good place. The standards are high. Prize money is good. The racing is good. And there's also this racing that they do now in the mornings for SIS and that. And that's helpful too, because it's lower grade racing, but they still all find their level in it. And it's an outlet, or, it's a use for all the lower grade dogs. We have the best of both worlds now in Ireland. The SIS in the morning racing looks after those dogs, and then the championship stuff at night time, more or less, they're still there, the classic events. So that's good.
What's next for Heaven Help Us?
Hopefully a trip to Punchestown, if everything is grand. And she seems fine. She came home well. There's not a bother on her. And as I say, we're going to have to raise our game, we can't raise it much higher, but now we're going to have to run in the races that we used to like to run, if you know what I mean. And we got into the better races and the grade ones, and it was exciting and a bit of fun. But her mark now will probably go up, that she will have to compete in those anyway. But look, we've had a great career with her up to this point, and she's only ran in 2 handicaps, and she won those well. So I think, a step out and trip and things like that probably beckon,
Yeah, Johnny, Heaven Help Us, one of 23 Irish winners this week, and capped today with the Gold Cup victory for Henry de Bromhead. Manila Indo 9-1. I felt going over the last, maybe Rachel Blackmore and Apu Tar was just going to maybe come up and pit Manila Indo, but wasn't to be for Rachel Blackmore. But she's had a week she'll never forget. And for Henry de Bromhead to win the champion hurdle with Honeysuckle, the champion chase with Put the Kettle On, and then to complete the clean sweep of those massive races with Manila Indo in the Gold Cup. It's just insane what's happened this week for Irish racing.
Absolutely insane, yeah. Heaven help us once she steps up the trip. It's going to be interesting because she's barely really tried 3 miles of hurl. So I think, Paul, you have plenty to be excited about. But in terms of the Irish week, I don't know how you could, at the start of the week, the spread in terms of the bookmakers, Nathan, was 6.5. If you wanted to back, so the expectation was Ireland would win the Presby Cup by 6 or 7. That in itself shouldn't be happening. I mean, the horse population in Britain and history and so forth, and it being the home festival over there, British racing should be having a bit of self-reflection in the sense it shouldn't be an outsider to be beating the Raiders at its own festival. And as John Duncan said during the week, you can imagine if we had the Punchtown Festival or something like that, and all the British horses were coming over and winning. And looking at that documentary last night on TG Carr, when Dawn Run went over, it was a depressed Irish kind of economy at that time in the 80s. We didn't have many good horses as well, and Dawn Run to go over there was kind of outlier stuff, anomalous really, that we had a mare as good as that. Fast forward then to 2021. And this was an absolute humiliation. 23-5, especially in the handicaps where a lot of the time Ireland is outnumbered. And I don't have the stats to hand, but the amount of 1-2s, 1-2-3s, it was just race after race after race. And you imagine that it would have been. I think it might have been hard enough for some of the British TV presenters over there, because they obviously want their own horses to do well, and it was just.
You can throw in, you can throw in Emmett Mullins there as well, having his first Cheltenham winner. And Emmett had 2 really good winners in England in Cape Gentleman and the Shunter going back. He won the Great Wood Hurl. So Irish visitors to the UK this year have had an exceptional year.
Yeah, they sure have. Paul, we've got to let you go, but thanks a million for joining us again on Friday Night Racing. We'll get you back the week before Cheltenham again next year.
Please God, yeah, I hope so.
Well, congratulations. You've had a brilliant week. And
thank you.
I hope everybody who was tuned in last Friday night got on Heaven Help Us as well at 33-1. Thanks a lot, Paul.
Thank you.
Well done, Johnny Paul. Is with us. Johnny's going to stick with us to reflect on the week and today as well, Johnny. I suppose we should touch on the showpiece of the entire week, which is the Cheltenham Gold Cup and Minella Indo. A surprise in any way?
It was to an extent, because he was disappointing Leopardstown at the Dublin Racing Festival. I know you said you thought Rachel Blackmore was maybe going to get there, but it was probably next to impossible for her, because he just has so much stamina in Indo. When he won the Albert Bartlett, he was a massive prize, but Rachel struggled to pull him up. I think that was her first winner at Cheltenham, if not absolute hard. But anyway, around that time, she was just kind of new to maybe a British audience, and contrast that to now when she's the top jockey. But Minella Indo, last year he and Allaho obviously fought out the RSA chase. I thought Minella Indo was brought on brilliantly this year in his first 2 races, but then he fell at Christmas, and I thought he was disappointed. I really fancied him at Leopardstown Dublin Race Festival, but he was no excuses really. He was beaten, but he came in great form today, and I think what really shows how good a race this was. Very little went wrong for Album Photo. There was an incident coming around the bend where it could have been a really dramatic moment in that Rachel Blackmore sort of tried to hem in Paul Townend. You might call it a small bit audacious, but it was just so much confidence that she's riding with. And that lost Album Photo quite a lot of ground, but in the end he just wasn't good enough. It shows the strength of the race, though, that he was a well-beaten third rather, and the other 2 horses, the Bromhead horses, had it between themselves from the last, and they're 2 fairly up-and-coming horses. Absolute Hard is unexposed at the trip. Then when you start thinking of Envoi, Len and Unfish next year, when they're going to be senior horses, but where's the British horse going to come from? Will even have a horse mapped in the Gold Cup next year? I don't know. The closest they had today was Frodon. It was a 25-1 shot.
And while the rivalry has always been a brilliant thing, it needs to be a rivalry to actually enjoy the the winning of the Presby Cup, which I don't know how much stock people actually put into it, but it was such a dominant performance. Expectation levels now are at an all-time high. You were obviously watching the TV coverage. Has that post-mortem for British racing started already?
No, because we had, maybe it has to an extent. We obviously had Gina Bryce on this morning, and certainly on Thursday morning she was saying that she wouldn't get that right about it. But, I was thinking to myself, well, if you're at a situation where it's possible that Britain is going to have 1 or 2 winners in the last few days, and it's going to be so basically humiliated by Irish horses over there, I think you have to worry about it and not dismiss it as one off, because it's, what was it, 3 years ago Ireland had 19 winners. It surpassed that today early on in the card. This should not be happening, Nathan. This is the bottom line. Britain should be winning this fairly comfortably. It has the horse population. It should have the trainers. And the BHA really, really needs to worry about prize money now, because you have Cheveley Park, an institution in English flat racing, moving the horses from Gordon Elliott for other reasons, but moving them to other Irish trainers and then winning all around them this week. So Henry de Bromhead has established himself as an unbelievably good trainer, obviously. We also have Willie Mullins, and, we'll have Gordon Elliott back as well. But where is, Paul Nicholls going? He really struggled at the festival this year. And where is Nicky Henderson going? Does he have the firepower? Where are the other British trainers? Where is the prize money? And where are the British owners? Because they seem to want to, even the British owners seem to want to have their horse in Ireland now. And I know we've decent prize money in this country. It's not astonishingly good. I think it's respectable prize money. France is very good prize money. It's based on a pool system over there, but we have a very good racing industry now, and British racing should be probably less worried about optics at this stage and worrying about saving the sport itself over there, because this was a battering this week, and they should be humiliated and they should be asking for answers.
I think everyone has ran out of superlatives for Rachel Blackmore at this stage. You've covered it extensively on the Cheltenham show. 6 winners. I think only Ruby Walsh has had that many winners at a single festival. The first woman to end the festival as leading jockey. Is there anything else you can add to it, Johnny?
I just think we need to promote her more. This battle for equality in sport is a real one. We had Katie Taylor winning the Sports Person of the Year last year, and I was wondering, well, if Katie Taylor could win it, in a sport of where she's fighting female boxers, whereas Rachel Blackmore is taking on the best jockeys who are essentially men and not getting a weight allowance or anything like that, which was proposed, and basically running away with the Cheltenham Jockeys title, doing this from a position where she came from very little, doing it in a very humble way. She was constantly deflecting attention from herself this week when interviewed. I think she finds herself as something as of a reluctant hero in terms of her being so good in terms of promoting equality. I think she wants to see herself as a jockey, maybe rather than a female jockey, and I think we have to see her as that. But I do hope that she's an inspiration to, young girls out there who might want to get into racing, because Holly Doyle has performed something similar in Britain on the flat. She's been extraordinary, and we do need more equality, I think, because I personally believe might be sexist. I think horses, some of them get on better with female handling than men. I think sometimes female jockeys just have kind of kinder hands, and male jockeys can be more forceful. But with racing,
based on the scientific fact, Johnny.
And it's a theory in racing, though, Nathan, that some horses can respond to kinder handling.
Right.
But Rachel, I mean, this would definitely be true. This thing, she's not, that horse isn't a woman ride because she's too weak, and I hope that's gone out of racing now, because it's essentially a bit of a nonsense. But there is a belief, like you'll often get owners will want a young female rider to replace a young male rider because they think the horse just might respond better. And I completely believe that, to be honest. It's not based on any science or whatever, but Rachel she's just riding like a champion jockey the way she was this week, so confident, full of sort of inculcated belief in her horses that even if they're going fast, they can keep it up, but barely missing a fence. I would say she was riding top trainers over there. Her winners were primarily for Henry de Bromhead and Willie Mullins, but what can you say about it? We should have her based on billboards all over Dublin to promote her. We should have her in Dublin Airport once people are coming back into the country, because we need to promote an incredible success story for a woman in sport here, and we're at the heart of it in Ireland.
Yeah, as you say, a reluctant hero. So she may not be that comfortable with all the billboards plastered all across Dublin, but I think we're going to see a lot more of Rachel Blackmore between now and the end of the year, when all those big prizes are given out. She'll be right in the mix. I'd imagine you need a couple of Olympic medals at this stage to test Rachel Blackmore for the Sports Star of the Year. Just on the trainer front, then, Willie Mullins won the last race, so he's actually the top trainer at the festival this year. But really, Johnny, it was all about Henry de Bromhead.
It was, yeah. Obviously, he won with Honeysuckle in the Champion Hurdle, and then Bob Ollinger was brilliant. I think the success of Put the Kettle On was particularly remarkable because, you know, she was up against it really in the champion chase. And obviously then he wins the Gold Cup today and has a 1-2 in the Gold Cup. He's a fantastic trainer, Nathan. He works very hard. He has a system with his horses that's a little bit unique in terms of the loose schooling. His horses love to jump. It's very rare that they make mistakes. And I guess I think Willie would even admit that he'd prefer to have achieved what Henry achieved this week. You know, Willie had never won the Gold Cup until 2 years ago. He's never won the champion chase. And, you know, in fairness to Henry de Broghead, he achieved both of those this week. The repercussions of this will be interesting because, you know, you can only see owners flocking more to him. He now kind of rather by default has horses for Cheveley Park, but he's also horses for Robcour who are investing a lot of money in the game. And maybe he'll start thinking about potentially becoming champion trainer down the line because it's kind of been dominated by Willie Mullins with Gordon Elliott second. But maybe Henry de Broghead will start looking at it now and say, have I the facilities to expand and go that extra length, or am I happy where I'm at? Because it was an astonishing achievement. You know, an astonishing achievement for. He's kind of, I think I described as Gerard Lyons as a jump
Friday Night Racing brought to you as always by Horse Racing Ireland. I do want to update you on the Tote 10 to follow. Sorry, Johnny. I think we were both just breaking up there for a moment. I was just saying Friday Night Racing always brought to us by Horse Racing Ireland. To update everyone on the Tote 10 to follow, because I hear that Ger has been doing quite a bit of gloating over the past few weeks. But Johnny is back on top. It was neck and neck right up until yesterday, but Gold Cup winner Manello Indo has landed Johnny 62 Tote 10 to follow points to put you back on top. The score now stands Johnny 477, Ger 433. Ger's going to have to pull off another comeback between now and the Tote 10 to follow's conclusion on the 24th of April. Well done, Johnny.
Yeah, good to know. I wish I'd backed him that Indo and not backed him substantially in Leopardstown the last day. But yeah, it is what it is. It's funny, Ger didn't text me about that.
No, he's been doing a lot of gloating, and generally it's been backfiring in recent weeks. Between this and the Welsh rugby team, nothing is going too well for Ger, unfortunately. To wrap up, then, Johnny, on the week that was, one, I think, despite the lack of crowds, despite the fact you couldn't go, one, because of what Rachel Blackmore's achieved, it's going to live long in the memory.
Yeah, it was an amazing week for racing at a time when it desperately needed it. And, you know, all the publicity of the last few weeks, to be fair to the media, you know, if the media were deemed maybe a little bit, I don't know, questioning of racing, you know, to see Rachel Blackmore on the front page, not on one day, but 2 or 3 days this week on British papers, on Irish papers, was fantastic for the sport. I think in terms of fatalities, you know, I don't know the figures, but there seems to be very little in the way of bad publicity at Cheltenham. There were horses running really hard, jumping fences at the top level, doing everything that they love, doing what they're trained to do, and doing it for the best of the business, which at the moment are the Irish.
Johnny, great stuff as always. We'll talk Go United next week, maybe.
Yeah, it's exciting to have it back, Nathan. Look forward to football tonight. And hopefully see you at a game, maybe in Terryland Park next week or in some shape or form in the near future.
Maybe. Johnny Ward, as always, great stuff. Friday Night Racing on Off the Ball, brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.
Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.